Yes guys, welcome back to more GBFC. In this video today we're going to take a look at the downfalls of Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United in the Europa League last night. It was not a good night for neither Spurs away from home in AZ Alkmaar. They flew to the Netherlands, couldn't replicate what their North London rivals Arsenal did so emphatically on Tuesday night in Eindhoven. Spurs, it was a very, very feeble performance. It was poor. They didn't really offer anything going forward. They were beaten 1-0 in Alkmaar. You can see there an 18th minute own goal from Lucas Bergvall. And then on the flip side of that, Manchester United limp over the line, I'm going to say, with a 1-1 draw in Sociedad with Joshua Zirkzee scoring the Manchester United goal. But I think we need to begin. When we talk about both of these games in today's video, I do want to compare the stark difference in quality between Tottenham and Arsenal and Liverpool and Manchester United. What you had in that Arsenal performance away in Eindhoven was a clear strategy. A team that, yes, still don't have all of their players fit. They're still suffering with injuries, the same as Spurs have all season long. Yes, I will give Tottenham and Ange a little bit of leeway here. They've had so many injuries. The whole squad has been ravaged. But the 11 that played in Alkmaar, we're going to go through it properly in a minute, but that team should be big enough and good enough, in my opinion, to get a result here in what is really what Spurs are playing for this season. The only trophy they've got any chance of winning this year is the Europa League. And if they were to crash out at the last 16 phase against AZ Alkmaar, meanwhile, Arsenal are looking at potentially breaking Bayern Munich's record. I think 12-1 is what they beat Sporting Lisbon on aggregate. Arsenal might be looking at this when they play PSV next week at the Emirates and thinking, we can get that record. Whereas Tottenham, like, their fans can't even dream of getting an away draw in the competition right now. And I think you've got to... There's a lot of things at play here. Ange Postecoglou has obviously got the way that he wants Spurs to be playing football. And I've thought this all season long, right? When you look at this Tottenham team, and I want to show you the injuries here, because Kulusevski's obviously a key player. You've got so many players still out injured, but realistically, how many of these are game changers for Tottenham? Timo Werner obviously made that brilliant run in a Chelsea shirt in a Champions League final, but Spurs fans aren't impressed with him either. There isn't really much here when it comes to these missing players that you think would make a massive difference. And when you look at the bench here for Tottenham, yes, they've got a lot of key players that are still not 100% fit, the likes of Romero, Van der Ven. But like, when you look at that Tottenham team, surely there's enough here to win. Archie Gray, I don't know what Ange is doing, right? If you've got players that are fit enough to be on the bench for this, you don't go and put a midfielder in centre-back. Archie Gray is not a defender. But I think all season long, I've looked at these Spurs injuries and I've thought, well, when Ange gets you playing that way, and that's the only way he wants to play, there's no adaptation, when players start dropping like flies, surely there has to be some kind of blame and onus here that goes on the manager and the style of play. Because to get that many injuries, but then not have any kind of plan B to be able to grind out results for Tottenham is an absolute disaster. I can see what they're thinking, right? When fans and Tottenham fans are getting frustrated about how many injuries there are, you've got your captain here, Heung-min Son, that has just gone missing for the majority of this season. When the club has been struggling, when the team has been struggling, Spurs have needed someone to kind of galvanize people together and come up and bring everyone else up around him. And Heung-min Son has disappeared during this time. And I do think Spurs, if you look at some of these players that they've got to potentially come in, I think Tottenham could come back and win the second leg. But it's just so Spursy, isn't it? AZ Alkmaar, team they absolutely should be beating, but credit to them for getting the result on the night. It's an own goal from Lucas Bergvall that gives AZ Alkmaar the lead. But if you look at the balance of the attack momentum, it's kind of an up and down kind of game, but nothing serious for Tottenham going forward. It was poor. So if we look now at Manchester United, I think there's even deeper issues at Manchester United. Joshua Zirkzee opening the scoring. Alejandro Garnacho is a player that we've got to talk about today. He was linked heavily with Chelsea in the January transfer window, but blimey, I genuinely feel as though Chelsea have dodged a bullet when it comes to Alejandro Garnacho. The man's decision-making in the final third is awful. The fact that this guy's even playing Europa League, when I watched his performance, I'm just thinking, how does this guy get it wrong on so many occasions? It's as if the Man United team right now, Amorim has said it himself in the build-up to this game. He's like, even winning the Europa League doesn't save our season. He's trying to say, well, United are such a big club. We're out of the domestic cups. And look, Man United lost on penalties to Fulham in the FA Cup, which they probably had more chance of winning the FA Cup than they do actually winning the Europa League this year. But United, it's just so poor all over the pitch. And again, I want to bring the ages up here for United because comparatively to Chelsea, there is experience in here. But Casemiro's 33, but quite often looks more like he's 43 and shouldn't be out there. Bruno, I've always been split on Bruno. But when you look at this back line, 28-year-old Onana, 25 De Ligt, 27 Mazraoui, Lenny Yoro was obviously brought in as a very promising young defender. But there is a balance with ages in this squad. But I think Garnacho and Rasmus Højlund, right? For Manchester United, I've grown up watching a Man United team that had Ruud van Nistelrooy through the middle, Ryan Giggs, David Beckham, Wayne Rooney, Alejandro Garnacho and Rasmus Højlund are absolutely nowhere near the levels required of a Manchester United team. Rasmus Højlund had 19 touches of the ball. And every time I watch Rasmus Højlund play, I just wonder what he is. And I think even right now at Chelsea, we don't have a fit, recognised striker. But I would every day of the week rather Pedro Neto going through the middle than Rasmus Højlund. He offers absolutely nothing, in my opinion. I think he's a player that United fans have been patient with. And again, I don't want to speak for Man United fans here because I'm not a Man United fan. But the issues at Manchester United are so much deeper than what this starting 11 is. Because at the moment, they're going to have to sell players in order to sign players. But when you look at this market value here, like, are you really going to get 66 million euros for Højlund? Yes, Chelsea wanted Garnacho, but if you see the way he played last night, you're not spending 47 million on Garnacho. There is value within this team, but I don't think we're seeing anywhere near enough from these Man United players all season long to even warrant some of the values of those players out there. I think it's absolutely hilarious that we're seeing these kind of numbers. I think Joshua Zirkzee had a very good game for United, but overall, looking at the bench again, like, what is there out there on the bench for Manchester United that can actually change this game? When you look at the injuries, even more injuries right now than Spurs. Martinez out, Mount, Mainu, Luke Shaw, who's always bloody injured, Diallo. There are key players there that are out for Manchester United, but I saw Real Sociedad playing at home against a Man United team that if you go at them, they're so easy to beat right now. They had 2 big chances in the game, Sociedad, compared to the 0 big chances that Manchester United had. You can see this here, down there, XG-wise, Sociedad competing and beating them again. But going to Old Trafford, Man United fans, I want to hear your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Are Manchester United actually confident that even with a 1-1 draw away from home, obviously away goals no longer relevant in European competition, do United fans actually believe they're going to win this? I am more confident if I'm a Spurs fan. Going back to Tottenham, I think Spurs can overhaul that 1-0 defeat and deficit from the first leg. I would be more confident being Spurs having lost than being Manchester United and going away from home and drawing. Because at Old Trafford, they've not been good enough. I think Amorim he's going to die on the sword playing this way. And United fans, is the patience still there with Amorim? I think we have to wait and see what happens in the Europa League. Because look, if Manchester United do go out next week against Real Sociedad, I'm going to say this now, I think Spurs go through and I think Manchester United go out. I think Real Sociedad will learn from this game. They'll go to Old Trafford and they might even play with more freedom than what they played with in this one. If you look at the momentum chart here, United with large swathes of the game, but towards the end, and when Real Sociedad do score that penalty, which is a relatively soft penalty, but then they dominated everything for the rest of it. There was not really anything for Manchester United towards the end. But I'm going to say it now. I think Spurs are going to come back and win the second leg and go through. And I think United are going out. I really do. I think there's massive problems there. And look, obviously Chelsea, we've got our own issues as well. And that stems from the top. It stems from the board. For Manchester United, it's the same. The recruitment has not been good enough. But look, that Man United side, that should be. That there's enough quality in there. But right now, it's just taking so long to understand what Ruben Amorim wants them to do. Do they have the right profile of players? No. Is there legs in this midfield? Not really anymore. Patrick Dorgu, I think, is a good signing. It's an Amorim signing, but he only joined 6 weeks ago. So what do Man United expect right now? I'm not sure. That squad is paper thin when it comes to quality. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on both of these two games in the comments down below. Like I said, Spurs are going to go through. It's very rare you'll hear me saying that, but I do think they will. Man United are going out. Thoughts in the comments down below.